Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Great Awakening Generator. I am your host, Rose McNair, and today I have with me Matt Andrews. Hello, Matt.
G'day.
Thank you for coming on board and having a chat with me here on the Great Awakening Generator.
My pleasure, Rose. Thank you for having
Yeah.
this platform available to allow us to share what we find passionate about,
Yes,
what we find joy
exactly.
in doing.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm meeting some amazing people, and you're one of
Perfect.
them. And I'm just really thinking, wow, we are so blessed to have these amazing people on the planet that are taking us through transformation and all of that. So, Matt, you are a facilitator of transformation, and that's what you call yourself. But before we go to that, I would like you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So first and foremost, I'm not a special person. I'm just a normal person growing up in a normal sort of way with parents and all the rest of it. I know people tend to want to put people on pedestals, but I consistently take myself off that. So I born and bred in Sydney, Australia, Northern Beaches, God's country back in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up.
Yes.
Educated as a mechanical engineer, very left brain, very logical, very good at solving problems, very critical as well, which I found out later in my life, how that critical mind was sort of a coping mechanism for someone who didn't feel good enough inside. And so very like to pick problems with other things around me, because then it made me feel somehow clever and somehow less of a failure than I felt inside. I think a lot of people will recognize the sort of ongoing battle many of us have with not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, and we cope with that in all sorts of interesting ways. But anyway, so educated as an engineer, found myself in the film industry. When Dad had an accident, I went on to. Anyways, it was fun when you're young. Who wants to work as an engineer when you're young and you can be in the film industry instead?
Yeah.
It's like being in the circus. Anyway, saw back at the age of 25, bit of a broken heart from a lost love, and found myself in my first yoga class. I basically walked into the sandwich board as I was walking down the street in DY, my local suburb, and went into a yoga class and absolutely fell in love with it. Particularly the meditation. Found a lot of relief in actually having time to feel into more of what I be and more of the universe around me, rather than trying to do everything from a logical brain that was trying to make sense of the world and trying to make sense of my place in the world, which wasn't working. Right, from a scientific background, I'd already given up on religion, probably at least 10 years before, when the Catholic Church made no sense at all from a logical point of view. And so found myself loving yoga, getting quite involved in it, marrying one of the yoga teachers there, going to India, getting mantra diksha, full guru disciple relationship, devoting my life to this process as well. I mean, a couple of kids. And then we ended up coming over here to New Zealand because Marie wanted to come home, my wife, and we set up yoga schools here, worked very diligently at all of that, until it all fell apart in about 2011, 2012. And we sort of divorced the guru, both of us, and walked away, just basically walked away from the yoga schools we'd established, even though we'd invested a huge amount of our time and a huge amount of our own money, of course, as well. We just basically walked away. And it was, one of those dark nights of the soul that I've had a few of them now,
Yeah.
but that was
Yeah.
one of the biggest ones probably. But from that sort of found a new beginning. Both of us found new beginnings in different ways, both Maria and I. She went on to train in different types of yoga and get quite expansive and in her yoga knowledge. And I went more into the esoteric world of different healing modalities and opportunities, for really finding my purpose, which I knew was much more than just working to earn money to support my family, etc. I really wanted to help people in a deeper way beyond what I could do just with meditation and yoga teaching. And so through a convoluted path, I found myself doing healing work without any real formal training at all. I've still never done a course, a certificate course in any healing modality, although that's how I sort of earn my living, quote unquote, doing all sorts of different ways of helping people, beyond just healing. I coach as well, and I facilitate transformation, as you alluded to before, which is basically just help people change and grow. Yeah, so I started speaking light language through this whole process, which was a rather interesting awakening, and incorporated that into the healing I was doing, and have since sort of, for a while there, I was a channel of light language. That's basically what I called myself before I was a facilitator of transformation. I was a light language channel or a sound healer, but found that in doing sort of just the healing work, I wasn't really helping people as much as I wanted to. And I found it was a bit of a conveyor belt of people coming with problems and me helping them with the problem, and then them going on their way till they had another problem, which they came back. And I really wanted to partner with people to help them grow into being the best version of themselves. So that's how I sort of transformed from a healer to a facilitator of transformation. For a
Right.
while there, I was sort of aligning with the term of coach as well, but I didn't really like that terminology so much either. So we try and use words to describe things. It's always very tenuous sort of process of trying to label ourselves with a few words to try and describe what we do, which is even confined. I like to sort of help people get a feeling of who I be rather than get too caught up in what I do. It's sort of been my last sort of decade's mission to expand out of this doingness and get more into the value of beingness. And basically all I really do is hold space for people with an intention to support them in moving forward. I try and
Yeah.
inspire them. I give them some practices. I do whatever feels appropriate at the time, but there's certainly no cookie cutter method. Yeah, so here I am, age 52, two boys, 21 and coming up for 20, traveling the world with Marie, teaching, doing yoga retreats and various spiritual retreats,
Okay.
and living my best life
I love that.
amongst this turbulence and chaos.
Yes, and this is it. There's many of us that are into all of this, that are saying we would like to keep doing that. Living our best life despite the chaos. Um, tell me this, because you were talking about, and I thought it was pretty interesting earlier when we talked before going to recording. You said, so you've been doing all this, but all this work after leaving your yoga business, and moving on, but you were still in the film industry whilst you were doing all of this.
Yeah, I was in the film industry for a little while at the start, and then I shifted out of the film industry and into building.
Okay.
Yeah, I never trained as a builder. I've trained as so little. Like I trained as an engineer, and since then I've given up on training. So I don't have any qualifications as a builder, although I'm
Okay.
very good at it.
Okay.
And there aren't many qualifications you need in the film industry either.
Yeah.
You ride on your ability rather than your qualifications, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah,
really nice, though. It's good to have these natural talents without things that you do really well, without having to learn it, because something inside you remembers
yeah,
something. Yeah,
yeah.
it must
Well,
be that
we
you're,
learn along the
yeah,
way. It's just the
yeah,
difference of having to be sort of educated into what is right and what is wrong,
yeah,
as opposed to going on a process of gaining wisdom through trial and error. So
yeah,
I much prefer the latter,
yeah.
where you actually learn by doing.
Yeah, I like that. I think we're highly creative, and perhaps we've been programmed to think we must be good at one thing and stick to that job for 30,
Hmm.
40 years or whatever.
Mm.
And it's really changed things. The last 30, 40 years on the planet has changed how we are thinking and the things we do, and how multi-skilled or how highly creative we are in various things.
Yeah,
So
I agree totally. I
so
help a lot of people get out of that mentality with their healing work, because a lot of people
yes,
have done courses or, something, and that's what they present themselves as. I'm a theta healer or I'm a Reiki practitioner, and they're very much limited by what they've trained in. And I help people just find the confidence to find their own natural capacity. It doesn't mean you have to throw away the trainings that you've done, but just expand beyond them so that you can
Yeah.
utilize them, but go further, bring in your innate gifts into the practice as well.
Yeah, that's really good. I want to ask this question. So I'm imagining now when you talk about going traveling the world and delivering these retreats. So Marie does the yoga retreat. I'm imagining that part of that program would be you doing your energy, no, doing healing or using the light language to awaken other people to their light language. I don't say teach because you can't teach light language. You can people awaken to what's within them. So is that your part in it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I'm even a little bit less under the radar than that. So I do the meditation, I do the relaxations. I teach yoga as well. So
Okay.
generally on most of our retreats, we offer 2 classes. So Marie will do a more advanced class where they do all tricky shit. And I just help. And I teach an awareness base of yoga where we use different postures to help people feel more connected to themselves, basically, and to create some more comfort in their bodies by increasing a bit of flexibility and a bit of strength where they need it.
Okay.
I do a lot of talking with people one-on-one.
Okay.
I don't necessarily do a lot of light language. Some retreats we do several light language sessions. Some retreats I do none. It just depends on the group and who's come and what we're sort of advertised what we're doing. Because I can help people in a lot of ways that goes beyond light language. I hold a very transformational space when conversing with people to help them awaken to who they are.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's basically what I do. We don't advertise so much how actually transformational our retreats are. We let that be a surprise for people, but we do, and it's not overtly spiritual. That's the thing. We have a lot of fun on retreats. We go on all sorts of excursions.
Okay.
We eat great food. We have all sorts of fun times. We don't sit down and talk about the hard work of transformation. It doesn't have to be that way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you take people out of their home environment and you bring them together in a container, a strong energetic container, in a new community that's just formed with like-minded people, it's amazing how much transformation happens in a week, and then is ongoing after they return home. So, yeah, we don't make spiritual practices or spiritual evolution so important. We keep it very real, very light, and have a lot of fun doing it. And at the same time, you know, we hold a very strong intentional energy, which can be hard for Marie and I towards the end of the week. We can feel quite exhausted because we've held a very powerful space.
Yeah.
But we don't make the journey so important or hard or serious. Not at all.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. That's a really good plan, actually. That sounds good.
Yeah, most of us who have a yearning for spiritual growth have made life too serious.
Yeah.
Most of the time, myself included. You know,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
to
me
really
too. Yeah.
have to really remind myself constantly to get out of being so serious about this, because it doesn't help. That's the problem. When you make things serious, you get stressed about outcomes, and when we're stressed, we cut ourselves off from the flow of energy.
Yes.
It is as simple as that.
And
Best thing anyone can do is relax.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important now to not be that serious about our spiritual journey, because look at what's going on around us. If you look at that, you realize, you know, you're going to have fun. You're going to have to make your fun, and you're going to have to see the upside of things, or the lighter side of things, because if you're going to be serious, I mean, it's going to be very stressful if you think about everything that's going on. Now the retreats, I know you travel the world doing them. Do you do them in New Zealand? And
Oh
can you
yeah,
tell us a
no.
little bit
And over
about
the
that?
last few years, we've done a lot more in New Zealand because travel hasn't been so easy with various, you know, restrictions. So yeah, we do. We do several sort of run every year. One of them being in the Abel Tasman National Park down near Motueka,
Yes.
Nelson. We were doing them up in the Bay of Islands for several years running, out on a boat in the Bay of Islands on a big car ferry boat. It was amazing experience. We
I'm
haven't done that
sure.
this year.
Yeah.
We're doing one next year, 2024, in early March in Stewart Island, right down the bottom.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we do them in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah, but this
Okay.
year, the rest of this year, we're overseas because
Yes.
we're still catching up from retreats that we had planned to do in 2020
Right.
when it all turned to custard. So we've got to get over to Vietnam and
Mm.
Bali, and we're going to Croatia this year to find retreat venues for next year because Marie's been interested in Croatia for a couple of years.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we're going over to Costa Rica in the latter part of the year to deliver a retreat there. And we're also going to the Galapagos Islands beforehand to find a retreat venue potentially for next year as well.
Wow. Oh, you guys are
We tend to
amazing.
do things that we're interested in. So it's all
Yeah.
about us, really. We
Yes.
I know everyone thinks our spiritual, guide on the planet, I should be working for everyone, but ultimately what's important is that we're doing things that we really are passionate about and we really enjoy. Because if you're doing things out of a sense of service, then it it can get a little bit twisted, egoically, and we tend to start martyring ourselves and getting things the wrong way around. All of us are here for our own experience on the planet. And a lot of us feel very passionate about helping others, but that has to happen as part of your passion to help others, not because you should be helping others as part of being a good, right, proper spiritual person in order to win favor with God or whatever, right, to get it right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
self-love, people.
that's right.
That's what we have to do because when you do things from the platform of self-love, then not only do you love yourself, but you're able to do better for others
Yeah.
without trying too hard, without trying really, isn't it?
That's right. And,
Yeah.
no one likes a try hard. And so the more that we
Yeah.
can really serve from a place of passion, which doesn't always mean that it's easy and comfortable, right? We still have
No.
to step through flaming
Yeah.
hoops to do it,
Yeah.
but we're doing it because we're really driven from a loving place rather than a fear-based place of lack. Right? It's not that
Yes.
we have to prove how good we are by doing all of these retreats. It's we're in a period of our life now where our kids can sort of look after themselves, and we've got this window of freedom before potentially grandkids come along, or before
Yeah.
potentially we have to look after our parents because they've become, elderly and need care. We've got this window of time where we can travel, and so we're utilizing that. And one of the ways that we are funding our travel is by delivering retreats all over the world as well, because we
Yeah.
recognize just how valuable it is to get people out of their home environment and into a different culture.
Mm.
It is already very transformational just to take people into a different culture out of their normality, which just creates and holds that sort of rigidity in their identification with themselves.
Mm.
And then when you add in, doing yoga and challenging them with different activities and bringing in a community around them and, doing the meditation practices and the relaxations that take people deeply out of their mentality, then you've got a very easy opportunity for people to grow a lot very quickly, which is
Yes.
exciting. And we
Yes.
find a lot of satisfaction in witnessing that. Yeah.
Wow. I like that method or that plan or that way of thinking.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't even know if it's a way of thinking. It's just, we just stumbled upon it, really. You know how it all started? It started because Marie doesn't like the cold. And
yes.
so, can we go to Bali for a month in the middle of winter and avoid the cold? Well, if we go to Bali, we may as well teach a retreat there. That's how it started back in, well, we met teaching retreats back in Sydney. Not that we were the sole facilitators. We were only young. We were 26, 27, and we were helping out on retreats. The yoga school was running over there. So we've done a lot of retreats, and then we went overseas and did retreats in India and Thailand and stuff as part of our own growth. And then started teaching retreats here. At first, they were just little weekend ones, but yeah,
Yeah.
the first overseas retreat that we facilitated off our own bat was basically to get out of winter for a month and have a nice holiday in Bali and teach a retreat while we were there to pay for it. So that's how it started.
So good. So good. Such an amazing idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about so for the benefit of our audience, tell us where people can find out more about your retreats and about you and the work you're doing. And then we'll carry on. But I just think at this point, let's just tell people about
Sure.
that.
So the best way to find out about retreats is if you go to Marie's yoga website, which is Marie Andrews Yoga. Okay. Marie is Marie. Andrews is just how it sounds. Yoga, I think everyone can work that word out.
Yes.
.com. If you go there, there's all of our retreats that are coming up and stuff. We're going all sorts of retreats in the coming years. We've got Sri Lanka there and a few other ones that we haven't done before, which is pretty exciting.
Okay.
To find out about me, if you go to mantara.nz or NZ, as we say it here in New Zealand, I'm used to talking to Americans, so I say Z a lot instead of Z. But yeah, so ManTara.nz. And on Facebook, it's called the Bright Light Beings group, Facebook group, if you check that out.
Right. So I will put all of that in the description box anyway.
Yeah.
For people to be able
to like to just click on things.
That's right. Yeah, I will be doing that. So right, ManTarA. How does ManTarA come into all of it? Because I got emails from you and you were signing up Matt ManTarA, and I was like, that's unusual.
Yeah. So well, when I first started healing, I was aware that, and I've always sort of had this understanding that I'm allowing energy to flow through me. And I started getting curious about where that energy might be, quote unquote, coming from.
Yeah.
Then when I started speaking light language, I got even more curious because I was expecting to feel, as a quote unquote channel, a more, I don't know, obvious connection with what was coming through me. I've never been particularly psychic. Like, I don't see a lot of stuff. I don't hear anything. A lot of people think that a channel, you're hearing stuff and then speaking it to them, but I don't, right? I just, to be honest, it's almost like I'm a little bit drunk when I talk, and I just allow myself to talk without thinking about what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's very, very natural for me. And that's why I've always, I've never sort of presented myself so much as now ManTara speaking. It's not like that at all. It's Matt ManTarA. We speak together. They just influence what I'm saying.
Yes.
And you can tell when I sort of get into a bit of a rave, then it's more of them and less of me. But still, it's I'm always here and doing it. So anyway, I needed a name. Because I was channeling this stuff and I didn't have a name for what I was doing. And so I did a meditation one full moon. This is back in 2013, where I basically, with the intention of getting a name, so I was sitting on in my mental space, I was sitting on a mountaintop, looking out at the stars, a big expansive vista, waiting for some name to come to me, sitting there patiently sort of meditating and just holding space. And next minute, the words in flaming letters were written across the sky.
Wow.
So realistically that I could almost feel the heat on my face as I was looking at these words. And it was ManTarA written just the way I write it now, with a capital M, a capital T in the middle, and a capital A at the end. And I went, wow, that's really interesting. I guess I've got my name. So I jumped up. This is about midnight. Jumped up quietly I was sitting on the floor in the bedroom where he was asleep, down to the computer, and I'm Googling, what the hell is ManTarA? And got a whole heap of information about ManTarA. It's an Arabic word meaning awaiting. There's all sorts of different uses of it and whatnot. But anyway, at the end of the day, that's the name they gave me. So that's who I work with. My understanding is it's not a singular. ManTarA is a collective, and it's quite a broad collective. I call them sort of angelic beings, for want of a better term. But there's a lot of sort of recognizable ascended masters in that collective as well. I tend not to do a lot of name dropping because they have always indicated to me that it's important that people take the information on the value of the information, not on the perceived importance of the messenger. So even though I work with beings like Jesus and many others, notable names, I very rarely say Jesus has said this, right? Because it basically doesn't help. They've always told me not to hide behind the source of the information and to allow it to seem like I'm just talking. So that's what we do.
Wow. Amazing experience.
It's been an interesting journey, that's for sure. Coming to terms with delivering information and inspiration to people without trying to over accentuate how important it is or elevate my own status in the thing, but to rather just have, you know, chats with people. That's why I call my live stream that I do every Wednesday morning Chat with Matt. Even though most of the time I find myself in a deep channeled space and bringing through all sorts of stuff, quite often I'm raving like anything, bringing through what we feel passionate about. I quite often refer to we when I'm talking.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah, I know when you referred to we as well when I sent you communication to say, would you like to talk to me on the channel? And you said we will, we'll see if we resonate with you.
Yes.
And I really liked that because it just said, you were really mindful about what you were going to do, and you were not going to jump into anything unless you felt that was the right thing to do, or the guided thing to do.
No interest in just promoting ourselves for the sake of it. It has to be a heartfelt endeavor.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that. What an amazing experience. As you know, as I was thinking about getting the name, I still haven't got a name for my collective. I haven't asked though. And I haven't asked, so that was just what I realized.
You won't get it if you don't ask, generally, unless it's important from their point of view. And ManTarA has pointed out to me that they're working with lots of people on the planet. And they use different names with different people.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
They do that for a reason, so that there's no argument as to whose information is correct. Because as they've pointed out many times, they don't necessarily speak the truth. They're not interested in what's true and what's false, because they're beyond true and false. They always remind me that we're saying what is beneficial.
Yes.
Because a lot of people get caught up in, how do you know that's true? And I say, well, I don't. And I basically say, does it feel true to you? Does it feel useful to you? Does it resonate with you now? And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to resonate with you tomorrow. I've sat and meditated to get answers to questions often, and been happy with the answer I've got, only to find out in the future that it's no longer really holding true. And that's normal, because things evolve, and
all the time.
And they'll quite often remind me that we tell you what you need to know then to inspire you to act in a way that's going to serve you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the absolute truth, because they say if we told you the absolute truth, it would actually hold you back from making the progress you need. You wouldn't be willing to have a failure experience, which is what you need now to get over something. So we will encourage you to do what's going to serve you. We're not going to limit ourselves to only telling you the quote unquote the truth. And when you start getting down the line of what is the truth, it's, I've come to the understanding that the truth, or the absolute truth, is pretty much a single page document that says we are all one, full stop. And everything beyond that is a perception and an individual truth.
I'm just finding sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, you go.
Sorry, I'm just finding at the moment, this listening to what you're saying now, it just brings to mind this. We are sort of in a flavor, and I say flavor, but that's for want of other words. We're in this flavor, or in this phase of having to realize that there is equalness in what's causing us to feel uncomfortable, and what's making, and how we are comfortable, so because we're always wanting to be comfortable, we're always wanting to be happy, we're always wanting to have all things flowing, and we need to, it's almost like we're having to learn to appreciate that time, that, or those things that are not making us happy, those things that are making us uncomfortable. And I think that's part of the transformational process. And I think you'll agree that it's part of this transformational process, because we've always been one or the other in the past, yes or no, black or white, good or bad. And now we're saying, well, darkness and light at this point in time has an equal value, because without the darkness, you would not know, you would not realize you need the light, and so on. And so I think it's whilst we're transforming, if we don't have this, then we're actually not going to have that complete essence of the transformational process, and we might still have to come back and learn more things. And for me personally, I don't really want to come back and learn whatever I'm learning this time. So it's pretty intense right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right, Rose. We are all expanding out of this sort of reductionist mentality that we've been programmed into with the mind, that black and white's everything, this very sort of digital age of it's either yes or no,
Yes.
right? It's a 0 or a 1.
Yeah.
And we see how intensely this is playing out now on the planet externally, that everyone is being encouraged to make black and white choices. You know, you're either a racist or you're not, and you have to, if you're not a racist, you have to declare, you know, what was it, the slogan they were using? This was several years ago, right? It was, oh, silence is violence. You know, what a ridiculous idea. But this was
Wow.
this is the attempt of the controlling entities on this planet to draw people into this one side or the other, right? You either vote red or you vote blue. You know, and if you're voting red, then anyone who votes blue is your enemy. This sort of mentality is has been very strong on the planet, and is currently in the process of disintegrating. It is absolutely losing its power, which is why it's being promoted so heavily now as sort of a last-ditch effort to extend their rule of power. So, you know, we saw the same thing with the COVID, vax or not vax. You know, either you believe in the science or you don't, right? And the science was the official narrative. Right? I know that's a loaded topic we won't get into, but
no, I agree with that.
All of these divisions have been very, very carefully orchestrated, and our media plays a huge role in doing it. Us as spiritual, I don't even like that term, us as people who are committed to making progress on this planet are finding ourselves disintegrating from this program. You know, we're coming out of being integrated into this concept, and it's difficult. It's difficult for our little personality ego that loves the simplicity in knowing that something's either right or wrong. Because when we know it's right, then we can move towards it. When we know it's wrong, we can know we stay away from it. When we lose those definitions, we start to feel a little bit lost from the aspect of ourselves that used to control our lives, which was this thinking part. As we're moving into our heart, as we're moving into intuitive ability to flow with things, we're not needing to define things as either right or wrong, good or bad, black or white anymore. But there's still an aspect of ourselves that feels quite lost and confused in this process, and that is a natural part of it. Unfortunately, it seems with most transformation that things have to fall away before things can fully emerge. And so we're falling out of sort of mental dominance into what feels like a confusing void before the heart-based intuitive sort of command leadership can really take effect. And so a lot of us are feeling lost. A lot of my clients come to me and say, well, I'm feeling crazy. I'm feeling insane. I feel like I can't function in the world. And I said, well, that's appropriate. That's part of the journey. It's not to feel that that's a failure experience. You know, I fully believe that over time, as we allow ourselves, you know, find allowance and acceptance to go through this process of sort of mental disintegration, that this sort of intuitive sort of leadership comes through us. But there's this period of time in the middle where it's quite confusing, and it's difficult to feel comfortable when you've lost your foundational structures. You know, this judgment of right and wrong, when that falls away, it's like, whoa, what do I do now? I'm not sure what's right and what's wrong, which is appropriate. What do you feel to do? Oh, I feel to do this, but I'm not sure. It's like, well, go for it. But I'm not sure. It's like, well, you have to risk, you have to trust, you have to go for it.
Absolutely.
And it might not turn out the way that you quote unquote wanted, but if you can be at least sure that in making an attempt that it's serving you, benefiting you, then you can relax out of the self-criticism that I made a mistake. My intuitive guidance was wrong. It's like, no, your intuitive guidance is never wrong. Your judgment of your intuitive guidance is where you're falling down, right? This idea that you expected outcomes to be in alignment with some sort of vision that you had, which, you know, a lot of our visions are very corrupted by our subconscious mind. So, you know, it's important to allow ourselves to expand beyond our visions. Use your visions to inspire you to step forward, but don't cling to them having to turn out the way that you envisage them, because that's where you get into this self-judgment or judging yourself in hindsight. Oh, it didn't go the way I thought. I must have made a mistake, or maybe my intuition wasn't correct. It's like, stop doubting yourself. Just
Yeah.
let go of these expectations and take every moment as a gift, and find the value and the benefit in the moment that you're dancing with it, rather than trying to get things right.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
There's
go
no
with the
right.
flow. Trust yourself. Those things. I want to talk about light language now.
Mhm,
So I listened to your light language last week during
mhm.
the solar eclipse. And so there's a few things around light language. So uh, do you have, I know you work with ManTarA, or
Mhm,
you are ManTarA, you and ManTarA do your work together.
mhm.
Language, do you find your language changes? Because it was
Oh,
quite
yeah.
digital. It was quite digital, I thought. To my ears, it was quite
Mhm.
digital. And
Staccato, whatever. Yeah, it's
yeah, it was
quite,
just quite digital. And I just want to, I'm curious because I want to know, do you find it changes? Because yeah, I just wanting to know.
yeah, it does change. And there are phases of it, definitely. A lot of, see, I don't even really like the term light language, because it implies that we're conveying information in a language style. And for me, it's more of an energy facilitation. It's more like a sound healing than
Yeah.
a light language. We are using my voice to create a situation or an environment that takes people out of their mind and back into their heart. So a lot of what we do almost has like the science of binaural beats in it. We're using
Okay.
multiple layers of frequency in the sounds that we're creating to basically shake people out of their rigidity, to shake people out of their minds. A lot of what we do. We do also, though, fall into times when there is more language involved, and it is more soothing and calming, and a little bit more similar to how other people might do light language, where it sounds more like, an ancient language, as opposed to
Yes,
shaking people.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I can never predict what's going to happen and how it's going to flow.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
I just go with it. I basically zone out and let myself make sounds.
Yeah, it's the only way to do it. That's the only way to do it because I say to people when I do my language, I don't know what's going to come out until it comes out.
Mm,
And I don't know how it's going to sound. I can't, for me, I know other people write their language. I can't do that
mm,
yet. I don't write my language. I don't read. I don't know if people read the language because you're going to write it. Surely you must be able to read it. That's my logic telling me that.
yeah.
But I do speak it. I speak many languages. Um, I have done a little bit of a teaching on it a while back, on the little bit that I know of it, because I don't know a lot about it. And just my experiences with speaking in tongues in church
Mhm,
is kind of where it started for me. And then now we call it light language. We don't call it speaking in tongues because,
mm,
well, it's different. It's different because I think speaking in tongues in church was quite sometimes weird. But and maybe that's about me and the phases I went through, but other people say the same thing. So perhaps that there's something in that. Um, but I just find the more I've developed my walk or my journey, walk, I was going to say my journey to myself, the more refined the language has gotten.
mhm,
And also because there's so many different languages, and sometimes it sounds like I'm speaking Tereo and I don't know a word of Tereo, or sometimes it sounds like I have an Aborigine tongue in it, or I have a Native American tongue, and sometimes it's language I've just never heard before. Um, but for me, and this is my next question for you, because for me, I found that through my language, I I should say through the language, um, I've come to be more in tune with perhaps my galactic heritage.
mhm.
Um, do you find that?
Yeah, I went through a phase of being interested in galactic heritage. And in my inquiry, I sort of found that I have all sorts of galactic heritage, you know. I have a feeling that I've been around and I've been quite diverse in my, you know, history.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people ask, oh, is this Palladian? Is this Sirian? Is this, you know, and I said, well, it's everything. You know, I think there's influences from all sorts of places and spaces. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What matters is what's your experience? Is this serving you? You know, what's the objective of the transmission, as opposed to where's it coming from and what's its origins. Because people can get very lost in wanting to intellectualize and place things in some sort of understanding.
Yes.
And while it's very normal for humans to want to do that, I think this is what we're expanding out of, the need to do this. Doesn't mean that it's wrong to do it, or even that it's a limitation to necessarily do it, but it can be quite limiting for people to always want to or have to understand where something's coming from before they will accept it, or before they think it's important, or before, you know. So I've sort of, I tend to, for me, like when I first started speaking light language back in 2013, the main use of it was for me to help express my emotions. It was for me to process what I was feeling inside that I couldn't put into English and tell anyone. And I would just allow myself to use this tool to open my throat and allow vibration to flow out of me, which was very healing, very important part of me, purifying my subconscious mind, and for finding a tool to help me manage more my emotional state of being.
Yes.
Which was tortured, right? From not feeling good enough and not feeling accepted, not feeling belonging on this planet. So even though I've been on this planet for so long, it's ridiculous almost.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Oh goodness, what did we sign up for? Yeah, anyway. But we must love the planet. We must have a strong love connection to Earth.
Yeah, no, I'm so aware of how much I love the planet. I spend a lot of time in nature. It's my go-to place. My self-therapy a lot of the time is walking in the bush. Sometimes quite fast, sometimes uphill quite fast. There's another outlet to really get my heart rate up and to feel connected. I quite often walk very fast up the hill and quite slow down the hill, appreciating all of the energies around me on the way down, but on the way up I'm blowing off steam and you know, processing energy. But yeah, getting out in nature is really, really, really valuable. And seeing all sorts of amazing things around the planet is also incredibly nurturing, even though the process of travel for me is quite difficult. Like, it's anxiety wise of, you know, I don't particularly like going through airports and all the rest of it.
They're not the best energy airports. There's a lot of hype.
No, lots of authoritarian energies around and stuff that I find very triggering. But in choosing to face those triggering experiences is also part of my healing journey. That's it. You can't just hide away and protect ourselves from what we don't enjoy.
So I'll just go back to, I just want to comment about something you said in terms of, you know, people coming back to that galactic heritage or the language we're speaking and all of that. And I think for the benefit of our audience, it's important to, it's nice that we talk about this, because I feel like we're not saying we're not saying it's a bad thing, like you were saying, to want to know what language that was or what galactic heritage. We all are going through that process of being fascinated with, oh my gosh, I've got a language, or I wonder what that is, or I feel really connected to this star system or that star system or whatever, and I wonder how that works. The thing is that the soul carries the memory of the light language. We're saying light language because that's what we refer to it. So the soul, my belief is that, or what I've come to realize or being taught, the soul carries the memory of those languages, of the various parts of the galaxy, the star systems we've been in, the planets we've been on, because we not only have we been on Earth many times, some of us, I won't say all of us, but some of us, those of us that are talking like this, not only have we been on Earth many times, remember even on Earth, when we were on Earth in all these past lives or whatever, we were speaking the language of the place that we were in. And we don't necessarily remember all of that here, because we remember the language we've been born into here. And so that is it. And it's okay to ask that question, because I've had people ask me, oh, what was that? And I always say to people, I don't know what the language is. But if you really, because even they can ask their guidance system for what that language is. Because I've had experiences where, I also got it later on, but they confirmed that they got it during the language. So, whatever language it was. It's very important to remember that. I want to come back to this part of the language being healing, because I only discovered this about maybe 12 to 18 months ago. I don't know why I never thought about it before, but I was doing some language and I could feel heat and other people were experiencing heat and experience, like parts of their body and things like that. And I thought, wow, I've never thought of light language as a way to heal, but it kind of makes sense, because even if it's spoken of in the Bible, it's one of the 9 gifts of the Spirit, right? Or the Holy Spirit. I can't remember now. And one of the gifts of the Spirit is healing. And others are like discernment, wisdom, all of that there. And it's sort of all intermingled in that process, because light language, you can use discernment, you can use healing in your light language for people. So this is what you're doing, right? This is you use it for healing. Do people confess to what they're feeling when you're doing it?
Oh yeah. No, some people have all sorts of, like, especially when it was very obvious when I was doing it with people in front of me lying on a table. Like, people would almost jump off the table sometimes. They'd have big spasms in their body and big unwinds, and they'd feel all sorts of, without me sort of touching them at all. They'd have heat in part of their body, cold in another part of their body, sometimes very uncomfortable sensations, pain arising, like old wounds and stuff. And also the mentality, of having all sorts of visions and memories when it's going on. It's very, very healing. Basically, for me, light language is an opportunity to transmit energy with intention. That's all. I'm holding an intent. I'm allowing my voice to put that intention into a form that is transmissible, which is sound. And that's why we call it light. It's the sound of light,
That's right. It is the sound of light.
So it's for me, it's just an energy transmission tool to convey an intent in a way that's beyond my mental capacity to control. So I'm not trying to control what it does. I'm holding an intent for the outcome, which is generally best for the best of the client. As opposed to me thinking that I'm going in and actually healing something that's broken, because I don't see people as broken. The symptomology that they're experiencing is an indication of what's out of balance potentially. But I don't really work on trying to fix the out of balance so then they can have the outcome. I go straight to the outcome. What's the outcome they want? Because if we can help them align with the outcome, then whatever needs to happen, whatever needs to be rebalanced, whatever needs to be released, whatever needs to be strengthened will happen, because it's natural that once you're aligned with the energy, then the pathway or the solution will unfold.
Wow. I like the way you explain that. And I just find light language is probably one of the most neutral ways to help people, because the ego does not get involved in it, because it's a language that's not commonly.
Some people try and get their ego involved, of course, and they want to understand, and they keep saying, oh, what's that sound that you kept saying? I said, I've got no idea. But you kept saying that one sound. I said, yeah, well, so it's obviously got a frequency that's serving you.
That's right. And I mean, like, I've learned that when you pray in light language, say you're in the home and you're doing it for yourself, or you're doing it there's a situation somebody is going through. You just pray, you just let it flow. And then you start to see results, and it's just one way of getting the ego completely out of the picture and saying, I want to have some sort of breakthrough, for want of a better word, breakthrough. And I don't know what I said, my soul did the speaking. The collective that works with me did the communications together with the soul, and that was it. I have nothing to do with it, and it'll you then move on from there. So I had a question and it's just gone, but I really love the language. Did you get anything from the solar eclipse last week with your language? Did you get any messages?
I don't know about messages. I certainly have had a very strong reaction or experience of it. I've certainly got sort of kicked in the ass, so to speak.
Me too. Wow.
Was feeling very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and had some really, really deep sleeps. For me, the message of that eclipse, or this new moon, new beginning, was really a time to step more deeply into being confident enough to just be myself. And I know that's sort of a pretty ongoing message, but it was very much for me, this is a time to relax deeply into trusting who I be as a being.
Yes.
And stop trying so hard to understand this current unfolding.
Yeah, just being. I just felt, because I just felt a lot of shaking within me, like like it was just really in my core.
Yeah,
I could feel the vibration, like there was this whole thing, probably, the chakra points all vibrating inside. And I was like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
this
huge
is
energetic
something.
upgrade.
Yeah, quite so.
Which
Yeah,
is a lot to do with us, being more authentic in ourselves, right? When our true energy can flow through, and less of our programming is running the show.
Yeah. So I just want to ask this question. Do you find yourself, the last question about language, because I feel like we talked and I've taken up a lot of your time. So do you find yourselves breaking out into language, even if you're speaking? Well, I sometimes speak to the dog without realizing. And I was like, so this is kind of normal, right? Because no one else has ever told me they do that does language.
Yeah,
and
no, I do it all the time.
I do it all the time. Even if I've said hello to somebody and I've walked away and then I suddenly start rattling off in language on my own, I was like, what happened here? Why did I, because something happened in the interaction, nothing necessarily negative, but just maybe that soul had something to say and I said it back or something.
Just something was triggered, and now he's processing it. So I find that the energy, the light language, is helping me process. So I'll burst out into it when I get excited. I'll burst out to it when I get emotional.
Yes.
Frustrated. Like when I was working as a builder, and I've just completely renovated our house. So the last 6 months, I've been doing quite a bit of work as a builder, which has been good for me in many ways to get back on the tools and be very physical to help through this process. But as like if I'm struggling to get something, then I'm quite often light language is going on at the same time. I curse in light language is what I say. Like if I hit my thumb, then light language comes out. Which is just a way of me expressing that emotion in a way that's probably more beneficial than using some other choice words.
Yeah, I get it. I do too. I get it. So I think your house must be very blessed, or it might have a lot of light language in the bricks, the renovated house, because you've been doing it. Surely the energy is in it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So Matt, very shortly we're going to say goodbye to you because I've taken up so much of your very precious time, and I so appreciate that you decided to talk with me today.
My pleasure. And I don't think time is that precious, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm more of I've let go of the idea of lack of time.
Yes.
Time is completely malleable, and there's always time for doing good things.
Yes. If you're doing that's it. It's not even conditional. There's always time for doing good things. I was going to ask you, why I'm asking if you can repeat where you can be contacted.
Sure.
This is about everything you do, like even if you do a weekly channeling on YouTube. So tell us about that so people know where to go to have that experience. We're going to have one of your experiences just now, but I want you to please tell us all that you want to tell us about contact, about finding out more about what you do and about experiencing your work. Oh, you're experiencing your offering, I would say, not work, because it's not really work, is it?
No, I don't. I try to let go of the term work. Yeah, so ManTarA, ManTara.nz is the website. It's a terribly antiquated website that I created very quickly back in 2014. But anyway, it's I'm never one to do all of the back end work, but that's a good place to start. And you can always contact me there and send me an email. My email address is mantara@mantara.nz. So I'm happy for people to just send me an email and say, hey, I'm interested in what you do. How can you help me? Or I'm interested in this. I've always got time to help. I'm not one to guard my, access to me only for people who pay super amounts of money or anything. On Facebook, which is where I do and post a lot of stuff that I'm doing, it's the Bright Light Beings. The Bright Light Beings. If you look that up, you will find a group, and if you apply to join, I will let you in. Yeah, that's probably the main things. If you want to, again, for retreats, it's marieandrewsyoga.com.
Yes.
And basically the stuff goes onto YouTube after it's gone through Facebook, or sometimes I create new things and pop it on YouTube, but I always send out an email about that. So if you go to my go to my website, I'm not very good at selling what I do. Go to my website and sign up. There's a free MP3 there. If you sign up and get Stepping Into Your Personal Power, you'll end up on my email list. And don't panic, I don't send out emails very often. It's sort of once a week is busy for me. But you will then not miss out on when I do a full moon or a new moon transmission or popping new things on YouTube, etc. And any offering that we're doing, I tend to send an email out every now and again about. So that's probably the best way to get in the fold. Yeah, and you'll get a light language process that is incredibly powerful and useful, hopefully, because we all needs a bit more help in stepping into our personal power and being willing to express our power out there in the world. A lot of people are scared of the word power, but it's really just expressing the truth of who we be. We're all powerful beings. We just need to come back to that acceptance.
Yeah, power is energy. Energy in
a period of time is all power is. I'm an engineer, I know that. Energy per unit of time, that's what power is. But anyway,
so you do these YouTube videos at the Faces of the Moon?
Not so much a video. They're normally I just broadcast it via instant teleseminars, so it's just an audio. I could do it on Zoom, but I find it's no real need to put an image to me doing light language, because it's just a distraction to people, and I don't really need to be worried about what I look like when I'm doing it. So I tend to just do those audio only.
Yeah, audio is great.
And that I've been using that platform for 8 or so years now, so it works well. But yes, not every new moon and full moon, to be sure, because sometimes I'm on retreat and sometimes I'm overseas and can't get a good internet connection. Sometimes I just don't feel like doing it, and I honor that as well. Again, I don't want to become the slave to my to my schedule.
Yes, nice, really nice. That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, most weeks I'm doing something. There's something getting popped out there, as well as my personal sessions and stuff. And of course, I've got a subscription community. If you join my email list, I think you'll get an email after a few days to say if you're interested in joining my subscription community, and send you to a page where you get to learn more about that as well. Where I have other offerings. We do a monthly topic call. We do a Q&A call where people can ring in and talk to me and stuff, as well as doing a meditation every week, which has light language in it as well. So there's that option. It's 33 New Zealand dollars a month, so it's not particularly expensive. But so yeah, I've got a higher tier, and then I've got a higher tier again where I help people who want to step into their power and attract their best clients as facilitators and stuff. I call that bright light attraction process. So which I haven't been particularly diligent in promoting as of late. But it's
Okay. But people
there's
are
lots of
attracted
things
to
I
it.
can help people with.
Yeah.
Most important, I like to talk to people and just connect with them and partner with them in whatever way serves them, rather than trying to fit people into various molds. But I do
Yeah.
have some molds available for people who are interested in it.
Good, good. Okay. So before you go, you're going to do some light language for us.
Yeah. What's a good intent to hold? Rose, what would you like your audience to be helped with? What do you feel?
I think especially now, the current energies, the way they are, just for people to become lighter about it all, you know,
Awesome.
to not be so serious, and to be like you were saying. I think it's
Mhm.
important for people to
Mhm.
get that message of being lighter, having fun, and get it sooner. To also get that message that we are not in the throes of pain, that we create our reality, and
Mhm.
we are on our way to greater, better experiences.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Have you a time expectation?
No. Yeah. No.
Have you a time preference then?
Um,
5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20
say,
minutes?
let's do 5 to 10 minutes. Let's do
Okay.
5 to 10
Okay, I'll have a look at the clock and try and stay on time. I'm
That's
notorious for once I disappear out of my mind to
that's all
going
right.
forever. And
Yeah, that's all right, because this is normally about who needs to hear it, and
Mhm.
it's about that more than it is about we want to stick to time.
Mhm.
Okay, so I said 5 to 10 minutes, but
Yeah,
if
no, that's good.
you go.
I'm pretty sure that we can definitely do that. So, my friends, take some breaths, allow yourself to relax, make yourself comfortable. Take a few deeper breaths and really just relax into accepting whatever situation you're in. If you are trying to multitask, I suggest you not listen to this. Don't do anything that could be potentially dangerous if you were to not be so conscious. Ideally, you can close your eyes. You can withdraw your attention inward, and you can trust that you are relatively safe in the external world right now to do that. You don't need to keep monitoring the world for signs of danger, and you can let go of trying to get anything right. And you can just relax into a state of beingness and allow these sounds to wash over you and through you, with an intention to facilitate a space where you can lighten up, where you can align with the light that you are and allow yourself to become light of heart. Allow yourself to let go of the seriousness, to let go of the contraction, to let go of the obligation. And you can just be your brilliant, divine light self here and now, really trusting that you are safe and that you are in command of your destiny. And while we can't control the external world, and we can't even control the experiences we have, we can control how we respond to it. And the more that you can trust that everything's working for your highest and best good, the more that you can relax out of any suffering. You may still experience uncomfortable sensations, physically, mentally, or emotionally, but whether you suffer is up to you. The more that you can stay light, the more that you can see the humor in the world, the more that you can trust, the more that you will progress through this time in an empowered way, and the more that you will be inspirational to those around you and supportive of everyone in having their best unfolding future from a space of love with love. Take a deep breath. and just relax. These sounds are not to be understood. Just let it wash through you. Trust that we're shaking out the programs, the dark indoctrinations that have kept you stuck in seriousness, kept you stuck in a sort of a lack mentality, where you need to prove yourself to the world, where you need to get it right, where you need to comply with various agendas, various expectations, in order for you to be acceptable. Breathe a little deeper, right down into the depths of your solar plexus, just up from your navel. Choose to feel beautiful expansion in this region of your physicality, as the light is just bubbling up from within you. And that solar, that sun within you is growing brighter. You are lightening up from the inside out. With each exhalation, this light is just radiating through you, dispelling the darkness, loosening up the density, washing away the discordance and the discomfort. This light is radiating out through you and around you, washing out through your mental fields, your emotional fields, your etheric, your auric, your vast, open spiritual fields. You're becoming a beacon of light. This light, transforming your reality, illuminating your pathway. It's coming from within you. It's your divine essence, your soul's essence, and you're just allowing it, allowing it to express out through you. And it's light, it's effervescent, it's fun, it's easy. This light from your solar plexus is radiating up and really supporting your heart, so that your heart can feel safe to open, and beautiful love, your love, can flow out from your heart, combined with the light, as your heart lightens up, and you don't feel so heavy in your heart. You can express yourself in loving ways, with compassion, but also with joy and jubilance, as you move through the world, trusting that all sorts of experiences are unfolding, to give you the opportunity to express yourself in authentic and loving ways, true to you. You don't need to morph yourself into any picture of what spiritual or correct or healing should look like. There's nothing that you should be from an external measurable perspective. You should be free to be yourself. Love is freedom, and freedom inspires love. Choose to align with freedom in a very light way. You don't need to prove your freedom. You don't need to fight against tyranny. Just be it. Be freedom. Be love. Be light. and be bright. Koko rakataka shabdikidiko, inkitiko rakataka, elikoroka, tikitiki shabdikidika, vermema makatiko rakataka shabdikidika, verkodatika shabdikidika, vermema makatukutukutik shabdikidika, verkotika shabdikidika, verkotika shabdikidika, vermema makatukutik shabdikidika, inkitiko raka vakavoko retika shabdikidika, inkitiko rakatika, arnika vakavoko rebeba shabdikidika, verkotika baba shabdikidika, verkotika shabdikidika, inkitiko rakatika shabdikidika, relax and trust this process. Trust yourself, child. Integoramea katika tu vishneka baka nugurnia katika back here. Trust. There's a process unfolding as you relax out of your mind into your heart, supported by your solar plexus, radiating light in a way that is light. Let go of the importance in trying to get it right. There is no right. You can't get it wrong. Just be. Be in the experience of now. Experiencing your existence of this now moment in expansive and joyful ways. Even if that joyful way is laden with all sorts of entangled emotions, some of them might be uncomfortable. Enjoy that emotional expression. Joy is not just happy, have a party. It's the expression of love. Love your time here on the planet. Love your experience of now, despite the challenges, despite the discomforts. This is an amazing opportunity to gain wisdom, to benefit the all, God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, the collective, the whole of the cosmos. You are love, and you are loved now, always, and in all ways. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
How do we go for time? I did look at the thing. I think it was only 10 minutes.
It's probably just slightly over, but I think it's beautiful.
Pretty good then.
It was okay. It was good. It was what perhaps it was just apt. It was what was necessary. Thank you. I'm going to say this. Thank you, ManTarA, for being here and for coming to talk with us. I say ManTarA because they really communicated their joy and blessings for this, this time together. Yeah. And this was time together. This was us having time together.
Exactly. Perfect.
Well, Matt ManTarA, thank you so much for coming and talking to me here on the Great Awakening Generator. I think at this point,
pleasure and joy.
Please feel free to come back anytime. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
It's said with absolute.
Reach out, Rose.
I will.
I'm notoriously poor at following leads, so
that's okay. I will. I'm just so blessed and grateful for all the amazing people that I am surrounded by, that are like-minded, and that are, everything is always relative and relevant, and everything. I keep feeling this heat going down my back, just so you know, since your language has been going. So I just want to share that, because I had it during the time, and now I'm just having it again. Now it's on my left-hand side, on the back of me on the left-hand side. Earlier it was on the right-hand side. Just wanted to share that. That is the effect of it. So
yeah, not uncommon.
Lord, thank you. Right, everyone.
What a time to be alive, eh?
awesome time to be alive. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like that to all
I
of
know.
us, but hey, it is an awesome time to be alive.
It is.
And the
It
more
really
we
is.
start reaching for the awesomeness of it,
Mhm.
the more, the quick, the soon, the better we get through this. I'll say the better we get through this. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, Matt, if you hold on, I'll say goodbye to everybody before I stop the recording, and then I'll just catch you on the other side of the recording being stopped.
My
Well,
pleasure.
everyone.
Much love to everyone.
Yes, Matt. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to say to audience before we go?
No, just chill out and relax.
Great.
Most important thing to do is let go of your stress. However you can manage to do that, do that.
Yes, indeed. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us here today on the Great Awakening Generator. I'll catch you next time. Keep reaching for the stars. I'm your host, Rose McNair, and thank you, Matt ManTarA. Namaste.